Before we dive into these spine-chilling stories, take a moment to ask yourself, why do schools seem to attract the paranormal? Why do ghosts often appear as children? Is it possible that some places actually hold the memories of past events, manifesting them in eerie and unexplainable ways? I am Alex, and you are listening to Stories Philippines podcast. A normal school day, or so it seemed. Imagine you're a student at St. Mary's School in the picturesque town of San Rafael, Batangas. It's just another regular school day, filled with the usual hustle and bustle of student life. The sun is shining, and the laughter of children fills the air. You are in the middle of a math class, focusing on a challenging problem on the board, when suddenly the power goes out. The entire school is plunged into darkness. The only sources of light are the dim emergency lights that flicker on, casting eerie shadows on the walls. As your eyes adjust to the dim lighting, you notice something strange. Standing at the end of the hallway is a young girl. At first glance, you think she's a fellow student who got lost in the confusion. But then you notice her dress a bright yellow and blue ensemble that looks oddly out of place. It's not a uniform, not even close to what any student at St. Mary's would wear. Curiosity piqued, you take a step closer to get a better look. But before you can reach her, she disappears around the corner, as if vanishing into thin air. You blink in disbelief, wondering if your eyes are playing tricks on you. Later that day, during lunch, you overhear a classmate describing the same girl in the same dress. Creeped out, you dismiss it as a coincidence until more students start sharing similar stories. Each account is eerily consistent, down to the smallest detail. And you begin to wonder, could it really be just your imagination? The phenomenon of seeing a ghostly figure that multiple people can describe in detail is known as a collective apparition. Such occurrences add credibility to the paranormal experience, as it's harder to dismiss the sighting as a hallucination or dream when others have seen the same thing. As if the sighting of the mysterious girl weren't eerie enough, St. Mary's School has another unsettling legend. Teachers and students alike have reported seeing a figure they describe as a burnt child. This story dates back several years and has become a chilling part of the school's folklore. One evening, Miss Reyes, a dedicated teacher who often stayed late to grade papers, was alone in her classroom. The school was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the rustle of paper and the occasional creak of the old building. As she flipped through a stack of essays, she heard a rustling sound under her desk. Curiosity and fear mixed in her chest as she bent down to look. There, hiding in the shadows, was a child with scorched skin, eyes full of pain and sorrow. The sight was so unsettling that Miss Reyes screamed, her voice echoing through the empty hallways. When help arrived, the child had vanished without a trace. Word of Miss Reyes' encounter spread like wildfire, heightening the fear and curiosity among students and staff. Everyone started avoiding staying late, and those who did always made sure they were never alone. The presence of the burnt child seemed to tap into everyone's deepest fears, making St. Mary's School a place where the ordinary became extraordinarily terrifying. The idea of a burnt child as a ghost could have historical roots. There have been tragic events such as fires that have claimed many lives, leaving behind stories of restless spirits. For instance, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 led to numerous tales of haunted places where victims of the fire supposedly appear. Such stories often reflect the deep scars left by tragic events on the collective psyche of a community. A month later, another inexplicable event added to the school's growing list of paranormal occurrences. One sunny afternoon, Miss Santos, a history teacher, was preparing for her next class. She had just finished setting up classroom 3A and stepped out for a moment to grab some materials from the teacher's lounge. Upon her return, she found the door inexplicably locked. This in itself wasn't strange, except for the fact that she had just left the room moments before and it had been empty. No one had a key except the janitor, who was nowhere to be found. Puzzled and slightly unnerved, Miss Santos sought help from the principal. Together, they managed to unlock the door. Upon entering, they found the room exactly as she had left it, with nothing seemingly out of place. However, from that day on, Classroom 3 gained a notorious reputation. It became known as the mischievous classroom, with students and teachers alike reporting mysterious cold drafts and the unexplained movement of objects. One student claimed that his desk was in a different position when he arrived in the morning, and another reported hearing a faint whispering voice during a silent reading session. These incidents became so frequent that some students refused to enter the room, even in broad daylight. Locked rooms and mysterious goings-on are staples of ghost stories worldwide. They tap into our fear of the unknown and the unseen. This narrative device is effective because it builds suspense and fear of what cannot be easily explained or seen. The story of St. Mary's School brings to mind another haunting tale from St. Agnes Academy, an all-girls school situated in the heart of Bacolod City. This story has been passed down through generations, becoming a part of the school's folklore. Years ago, a girl named Clara was found hanged in one of the bathroom stalls. Her death was ruled a suicide, but the circumstances were suspicious. Since then, students have reported hearing whispers and seeing Clara's ghostly figure wandering the hallways, especially near the bathrooms. The detail of finding her in a bathroom stall adds a chilling layer to the story, making it all too real for those who hear it. Clara's story has stuck with the students and faculty, making St. Agnes Academy a place where the past and present seem to coexist in eerie harmony. Some students claim to have seen her reflection in mirrors, while others reported feeling an unexplainable coldness when passing by the bathroom where she was found. These eerie encounters have turned the bathroom into a place of legend, with many students avoiding it altogether. Similar to the story of Clara, many schools around the world have their own legends of tragic events. For example, the story of the haunted hallways at El Paso High School, where a cheerleader allegedly committed suicide, leaving her spirit to wander the school. These stories often serve as cautionary tales, reflecting broader societal issues such as mental health and bullying. Before we dive in, I'd love for you to follow our podcast and share it with friends, family, and colleagues who crave thrilling tales. Our episodes are packed with suspense and excitement that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Sharing our podcast not only helps us grow, but also spreads the joy of storytelling to others who enjoy a good thrill. Whether it's during a commute, a workout, or just winding down at home, our stories are the perfect companion. And hey, if you or anyone you know has an amazing story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Your personal experiences and unique tales add so much to our community. You can reach out to us through the links in the show notes. We can't wait to hear from you and possibly feature your story in an upcoming episode. Thank you for being a part of our storytelling journey. But the tales of haunted schools don't end at St. Mary's and St. Agnes. Over at the Student Organization HQ in Manila, another grim story unfolds. This dimly lit, mostly empty building is the perfect setting for a ghost story. One night, a student named Miguel was alone in the HQ, finishing up some work. The building was silent except for the occasional creak and groan of its aged structure. As Miguel was packing up to leave, he noticed a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway. At first, he thought it was another student, but as he looked closer, he realized the figure's back was bending the wrong way, contorted in an unnatural position. Paralyzed with fear, he watched as the figure slowly disappeared into the darkness. The next day, Miguel reported the incident, and soon, other students came forward with similar experiences. Some reported seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision, while others heard faint, disembodied voices echoing through the halls. Equipment was found moved from its original place, and cryptic markings started appearing on the walls. It was as if some unseen force was trying to communicate with them, or worse, torment them. The bending back figure is a disturbing visual, reminiscent of horror movie tropes like the contorted movements seen in The Exorcist or Japanese horror films like Ju-on the Grudge. These visual elements are effective in evoking fear because they present human forms in utterly inhuman ways, triggering our deepest discomforts. And then there are the children. Children often appear in these stories, adding an extra layer of eeriness. One listener, Maria from Davao City, shared her own spine-chilling encounter. One rainy night, she was alone in her room, studying for an upcoming exam. The rain pattered softly against the window, creating a soothing rhythm that helped her concentrate. Suddenly, she felt a chill run down her spine, as if someone were watching her. Turning towards the window, she saw a child standing outside. The dim light from a nearby street lamp illuminated the child's face, revealing a horrifying sight. This child had no eyebrows. The sight was so unsettling that Maria couldn't sleep for days. She kept wondering why a child would be wandering outside at night and why it had no eyebrows. The little details, like the missing eyebrows, made the encounter all the more disturbing and believable. She later learned that other neighbors had seen the same child, adding to the mystery and fear that gripped her neighborhood. Children in ghost stories often represent lost innocence or unresolved trauma. The lack of eyebrows provides a subtle but deeply unsettling image. Such specific details make stories more personal and thus more frightening. So what do we make of all these stories? For one, schools seem to be a hotspot for paranormal activity. Maybe it's because schools hold so many memories, both good and bad. They absorb all that energy over the years, becoming a container for all those experiences, even long after everyone has left. And it's not just schools. Children keep popping up in these stories. Maybe it's because children are more open to the supernatural, more imaginative. Another interesting point is that many of these stories are told by different people, sometimes even years apart. It's like they're experiencing the same things at different times, making you wonder if there's something more to these tales than just stories. When multiple people have similar experiences, it makes you question whether there's actually something there. Maybe those places really are haunted, but how do we begin to understand this? One possibility is the power of suggestion. If you hear a place is haunted, you might start to see or hear things that aren't really there. Urban legends and cultural beliefs play a huge role too. Every culture has stories about the supernatural shaping how we see the world and making us more likely to interpret things in a certain way. The power of suggestion is a compelling explanation for many paranormal experiences. This phenomenon is well documented in psychology. If people expect to see something, they are more likely to perceive it, even if it isn't there. This serves as a reminder of how powerful our minds can be in shaping our perceptions. Another thing to consider is whether some places are just naturally more prone to paranormal activity. Maybe because of their history, or maybe something happened there that left some kind of energy behind. Places where something tragic occurred are often said to be haunted. While there's no real proof, some people think strong emotions, especially negative ones, can linger in a place almost like they seep into the walls. This brings us back to the spider babies phenomenon. Grace mentioned getting a ton of similar stories out of nowhere, all about spider babies. Yes, spider babies. It wasn't just one or two people, it was like everyone was suddenly seeing them. So weird, right? These stories remind us that there's still so much we don't understand. What if these stories are more than just tales? What if there's actually something else going on? It's a little scary to think about, but also kind of exciting. Historical records and folklore often contain elements of the supernatural, revealing how past societies tried to make sense of the unexplainable. Whether it's a haunting that persists through generations or sudden spikes in similar paranormal reports, these stories can offer fascinating insights into human psychology and cultural history. As we wrap up this deep dive into the paranormal, the biggest takeaway is to keep an open mind. You never know what might be lurking just beyond our understanding. And hey, if you hear a weird noise at night, it might be nothing, or it just might be something from one of these stories come to life. Until next time, keep it spooky. Listeners, the lesson from these stories is to always be respectful of places with history and to keep an open mind. Sometimes things happen that we can't explain, and that's okay. It reminds us of the mystery still out there in the world. Stay curious, stay respectful, and most importantly, stay spooky. If you have your own spooky story to share, we'd love to hear it. Submit your story for future episodes and be part of our paranormal community. Also, if you enjoy our podcast and want to support us, check out the links in the show notes on how you can contribute financially. Your support helps us continue creating these wonderful episodes. Until next time, keep it spooky and stay curious.